Retro.
Yeah.
Electro. Tech.
Oh yeah.
Hey, turn the lights back on. Wow. Retro Electro Tech. When real audio ruled the world.
Well, hello there once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Retro Ernest of Retro Electro Tech, and on the bench is a Marantz 4430. And I have two of these in the shop right now that I've had here for quite some time. I'm starting to get to them now. So it turns out, yeah, and both of them are owned by the same customer. He wants me to go through and just give everything a once-over, an inspection, see if I could give everything a clean bill of health as far as function is concerned. Yes, ideally it would be good to go through this receiver, do a restoration, recap, all that stuff, go through it nice and gingerly and carefully and do a good thorough job. Bring everything back to factory spec. Ideally that would be the way to do things. I don't have the time to do that as far as I can't restore everything that comes through the door, at least not right now. So I'm doing what I can do in, again, just going over what I can, an inspection, checking everything over, make sure that there isn't any big nasty red flags. I am going through and of course servicing switches. That's all part of the switches, pots, and that's going to take some time to do. But really the reason why I'm doing this video is not really to cover all of the work that I'm doing on these 4430s. Not this go around, but just one specific thing. And what that is you can see our input selector control, our shaft right here. This was busted off completely. This is another shaft off of another potentiometer that I've splinted, if you will, in place. Okay, and I'm going to talk about how I did that, because as I often say in this work, there is more than one way to do things, more than one way to skin a cat, as the old saying goes. And for example, this is the input selector switch that had the busted shaft, okay? And there is a whole lot of wiring, as you can see, a whole lot of wiring soldering onto this input selector switch. So if I absolutely had to change the switch, I would do so. And in fact, during the making of this video, I did look for an input selector switch that would work in this unit, and there wasn't anything available right at the time. There were some similar models, similar input selector switches that were pretty close, but again, not the one I was looking for. So I didn't have any parts, any replacement parts, any replacement shafts and all that stuff. Okay, so on this shaft right here, where you see this little dark band around here, this is where the shaft connects. And the way I went ahead and did that so it would be strong enough, or at least I was hoping it would be strong enough, and so far so good. It looks like it's holding up pretty good. Okay, so pardon the funky angle as well as the funky little drawing of this control shaft. The one that I rigged up to replace the input selector switch shaft, which broke off. This half originally broke off. So I scavenged a shaft off an old pot, and after preparing both ends, getting my Dremel tool and some files and smoothing out everything real nice, I ended up drilling some holes down the center of these shafts, these two halves. Okay, I drilled some holes down here, down the center, and I ended up threading them with a little 3mm tap. Okay, threaded these holes, and then I ran a 3mm bolt down the threaded sections that I created, that I drilled down the shafts. I ended up threading a 3mm bolt down this side first. Before I did that, I coated the threads with some JB Weld, the bolt threads and the inside threads in here. I coated it with some JB Weld, ran the bolt down the shaft, and then with the other threaded end sticking out, I threaded this section of shaft here, the replacement shaft, onto the bolt. Of course, I smeared some JB Weld on the bolt threads and inside here, butted everything up together, not pretty tight, and I'm waiting for the JB Weld to cure. I'm hoping that does a trick. I think it will. I mean, I know JB Weld is some pretty strong stuff, and not to mention the fact that I did this repair in, I think, in a pretty good way as far as strength is concerned, by drilling down the shafts and again threading them and dropping a bolt down in there and JB Weld. I think that that's pretty darn good, unless a person was to get really heavy-handed and give the switch too much oomph when they're rotating it through its different selections and end up busting it. But I think that as long as a person's aware that a repair was made, and if they end up selling this, pass that along, let somebody know that, yeah, this shaft was repaired at one time and, whatever, then that would be a good idea. That way, a person could be a little bit more light when they turn the control, not as heavy-handed. So there's that. So otherwise, let me switch views. So once again, as I always say, there's more than one way to do things, yes. This would have been the route I would have probably had to have taken if I couldn't have executed that repair, or if it doesn't hold up, or if there would have been some damage to the switch itself, or whatever the case. Then all of this wiring, and I mean all of it, needs to be dealt with, and it's a real nightmare to try to, you got to pull out however many connections you have to pull out, mark them, get them back on there without damaging wire, without burning, the insulation on the wiring with your, the tip of your soldering iron, because there's so much wiring all clustered into one area. It's kind of hard to get in there. It's a pain in the butt, put it that way. If I had to do it, I would do it, but I, dodged that bullet. So let's hope that this shaft repair holds up. And like I already pointed out, I think that it's strong enough to. But this is the kind of stuff you have to do sometimes. You got to kind of think outside the box, get creative, whatever, and come up with different repairs. Especially being that at the time that I was looking, there wasn't an exact replacement input selector switch available for this model. There were some other similar models out there. There were some input selectors that were pretty close, but not quite. So at the time, yeah, it really wasn't an option. I didn't have any replacement shafts or anything. I have a few here in the shop. I have replacement shafts for some types of pots, but not very many of them. So I had to, like I said, end up going this route. And I think it came out pretty darn good, all things considered. One thing that I do want to point out about this repair, because for those out there that do try this type of repair, there's a few things you should be aware of, or at least just make note of it. So when you're splinting, I guess that would be the correct term, splinting a shaft, doing that type of a splint repair, especially if you're going to do it the way that I did it, then yeah. I wanted to be sure that I had plenty of meat down here, which is why this turned out a little bit longer than the original, this whole shaft. I'm going to work on that in just a bit. But the reason I left more meat down here, down lower, is because this is the wider circumference of the shaft up to this point. Okay, this is a wider circumference. So when I was drilling down both ends of the shaft, I wanted to leave as much of this lower portion of the shaft as possible, because I knew I was going to be passing a threaded bolt through there, so I wanted as much bolt material, as much meat as possible, making its way up the shaft so that it would be strong. So I decided to shorten the shaft here at the knurled portion that the knob slides onto, because there still is plenty of material. If I just take off a little bit here, as much as I need, there will still be enough material here to hold the knob in place. Okay, it's not going to be all loose and all that. I'm going to leave enough material, knurled material for the knob, but shave off a little bit so that the knob drops down a little further. And that's how I compensated for not removing material down lower here. I was able to get away with that in this case because, like I said, I wanted more area to drill down inside the shaft to get that threaded bolt really in there and just have a good solid connection. So I just wanted to explain that because when you're trying to figure this out and you want to have a good strong splinted joint, running a threaded shaft down the way I did, then you want to have plenty of material inside the shaft that you drilled down. You want to have plenty of meat in there to drop a threaded shaft down in there. Otherwise it's going to be kind of weak. So I wanted to make sure that that was really clear. So, so far so good. I've done some testing on the shaft. In fact, I'll just do a little bit real quick. I don't have it, screwed in place yet. But anyways, you can see that, okay, so good. Yeah, so, it's working. It's holding nice and tight. So I do believe that that's going to do it. Not 100% perfect, but hey, considering the workaround, I think it was pretty good and it should be pretty solid. So I'm going to move on from here. All right, everyone, so that's about it for this video. Again, I'm mainly doing a really big control servicing on this. A big multi-flush cleaning and exercising controls, inspecting everything, as I pointed out in the beginning. So that's mainly what I'm doing with both of these 4430s that I have. I have another one off to the side. It's going to undergo the same, pretty much the same inspection, look over, function testing, deal with what I have to deal with, controls, switches, all that stuff. Same thing on the other one. The only thing is that one doesn't have the other one doesn't have a damaged, didn't have a busted off input selector shaft. So that's what I'm doing with these 4430s. I'm not going to film them beyond this video here. But I just wanted to point out that shaft repair, and that's a viable solution. So there you go, guys. As I always say, peace, love, music, and the vintage audio that brings it to your ears. Till next time, y'all take care.
This has been a Spinning Head production.
Hehehehe